everybody, welcome back to the world of cinematics. I will be your host today, and today we are talking about Marvel Mania. So we've been doing a lot of Marvel watching recently in our spare time when we're not at work or doing homework. We've been watching Daredevil with Robert. It's his first time, so we're trying to be gentle. And we've also watched Moon Knight, and
I'm sensitive.
Robert is a very sensitive man. Don't say things to insult him; he'll hurt you. And we've also watched Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. I wanted to recap with Moon Knight, though, you guys, because we haven't talked about the last two episodes, not just the finale. And I really wanted to talk about that second to last episode, because that's when I realized, okay, this is pretty good, even though it's not what I thought it was initially. The way it went in that episode. Jed, could you give us a recap of that episode there?
Yeah, it was kind of like the second to last episode of WandaVision, where it's not a recap in the sense of where we've been so far, but a recap in like, here's some of the stuff that happened before this series, so we can know why our characters are the way they are. I liked that episode in WandaVision. In Moon Knight, it may be my favorite episode of any Marvel television show ever, at least of the Disney Plus ones. It was incredible. Watching the episode, something that Aaron had mentioned in previous weeks was his wondering, okay, why does this have to be a TV show? Why couldn't this have been a movie? Watching this episode, I finally said, okay, it was the right decision for this to be a TV show. I was thinking about how I think the best performances we've had in Marvel movies or TV shows have been Elizabeth Olsen in WandaVision and I'm blanking on his name. Oscar Isaac in Moon Knight.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get an Emmy nomination, this will be an absolute crime. And I'm usually somebody who's like, hey, somebody did really good. It doesn't mean they're actually going to get a nomination. Like, I thought that, for example, Mark Hamill, incredible at The Last Jedi. Think what you will about the writing, his performance, amazing. Doesn't mean I think like, oh, he was robbed of an Oscar nomination. If Oscar Isaac doesn't get this, he's going to be robbed of an Emmy nomination. All the different levels and layers, all the pain and trauma in two characters, all the anger, the desperateness, the pain, all of it was wonderful, is incredible. Mm-hmm. This extra time spending with the characters has been able to draw out the best performances in Marvel, in my opinion. And so yeah, I loved that second to last episode. I also liked the finale. It's fine. It was good. I liked it, but man, that second to last episode was something else.
Yeah, though the finale does have that sort of third act, big CGI battle fest. Mm-hmm. I actually enjoyed it this time.
Yeah, it's still good for what it is.
I didn't like the Shang-Chi movie. We haven't really talked about that one. Well, I haven't been here if you guys talked about it.
Made Roberts and I the top 10 movies of the year.
Oh,
but it was on the lower end, but we both really liked it.
Definitely didn't love that one. I don't even remember a lot of it. I remember it was funny-ish, but the third act, I'm kind of getting sick of the third act Marvel thing, big CGI battle fest. But Moon Knight did it well. It was at nighttime, so maybe the CGI was holding up better. I like the character designs of I forget the god's name, but
Amit.
Yeah, Amit and Khonshu. Yeah, I liked her dreads or whatever on the alligator. I thought that was funny. And just the over the top how she was eating the souls and growing larger at the same time. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's really like kind of cheesy, but I feel like that's kind of what comics are, especially ones like this that are based after legends and fake gods and stuff.
But the show hadn't really been cheesy up to this point. Like, I'm totally fine with cheesy stuff. Like, we're going to talk about Doctor Strange, and oh my gosh, there were some cheesy moments.
Oh my gosh.
But this whole movie throughout was kind of maintaining the same tone. Whereas I feel the finale of Moon Knight was a different tone than the rest of the show.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah. But at least there was still, there's still blood and stuff, and, it was really cool. I enjoyed it. I don't know why. It didn't bother me as much this time. I just thought it just landed well. Mm-hmm. And second to last episode, I did like the flashback scenes. I was like, oh, kind of with the WandaVision thing, when you brought that up, I was like, we already know her backstory because she brought it up in other media's like Age of Ultron.
But it's something else to see it.
Yeah, it was cool to see it.
Yeah.
But to me, I was just like, oh, I already know this. It's cool to see it. I already knew it was traumatizing.
Yeah.
But to see his, I had no idea. I don't even know if it's comic accurate, but to see his backstory is very cool. Very sad and very different from other superheroes. You know, it wasn't just that his parents got blown up by a Stark Tech missile or whatever. It's that he accidentally got his brother killed. It wasn't really his fault, but to him it was his fault his whole life.
Not to him, to his parents. Or to his mother specifically.
To his mom. And so he believed that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he had to bring on another personality.
Yeah, it's very realistic depiction of dissociative identity disorder. How, because of trauma, usually how these personalities are created. Because of trauma, the human mind will create someone else to either, you know, for lack of a better phrase, be the punching bag, or be this extra one who will give extra support. All these different things, and you see how, Stephen, even though he maybe isn't the most bold and confident person, he is brave. He is someone who is going to be meek, but he's never going to back down from the punishment he's taking, which is what Mark needed in that moment.
Yeah, no,
which is really sad.
I always had respect for Stephen, because
Yeah.
even when he was surrounded by all the bad guys, and they would say, "Yeah, we're gonna do this even to kids," he called them out on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I hate it when Stephen takes over the body and he tries to fight because it's lame. But I always respected Stephen, because he was always willing. We're getting some more light. He was always willing to stand up for what was right.
For me, going back to what Jess said about the Emmy, there's a moment where you know, okay, this is where the actor got his Emmy-winning moment.
Yeah, that's going to be in his for your consideration reel.
Right, and for Peter Dinklage is that wonderful speech he gives in Game of Thrones where he basically says, "I didn't kill Joffrey,
but I wish that I had."
So for me, the moment that I really, really felt something, besides, you know, just the sadness of watching a young boy being abused by his mother, and the way he coped with that, it's just very sad to see, was the moment where he goes to her funeral. He can't go in, he's drinking, and then he just starts sobbing, and I was like, oh my goodness, this feels very real. And where he goes on his knees, and he takes his yarmulke off his head, because he's Jewish, and it, you know, he's breaking down, and he has to go into, have Stephen come in and take over from there. But it's just, I think that moment for me is his Emmy moment, because it's like just watching a man as hard as Mark just breaking down. And it's also refreshing because whenever a superhero is explicitly religious, I really enjoy that, because it to a lot of people it doesn't make sense. It's like, well, you got Thor, you got all these Egyptian gods. Why would you still be religious? Why would you still have devotion to God? And in the case of Moon Knight and Daredevil specifically, both of them I think have devotion to God despite these things, because they realize that the world will always change, but the principles that they believe in, their standards don't change. And I think Stephen specifically might abide by that a little bit better than Mark. Stephen, at one point, he has the Star of David on his neck, and Daredevil wears a cross on occasion, and he's openly religious. And so those were two, just something else that I appreciated from the performances, just an acknowledgement of religion, but also showing that a religious person can suffer, a religious person can go through these sad things and difficult things, and you know, maybe even question their devotion to God. They don't explicitly say that, but him sort of shaking his fist and weeping is like, oh my goodness, this is what every religious person goes through at 1 point or 20 points or 1,000,000 points or another. So I really enjoyed that. As far as the finale goes, just the shot in the trailer where it's kind of a cool shot how they take the pyramid and shift it over. But just Haro with his hair blowing in the wind, this 50-year-old man hopping in regular clothes, hopping towards Moon Knight, who looks fairly cool because he's a superhero, dressed like a superhero.
Yeah.
Just them
fighting with his magic
them doing
cane.
this, I was like, what is this?
It was
is this
a little,
Scott Pilgrim versus the World or something?
It was a little silly.
So,
although I will say,
face, though.
the scene where Ethan Hawke brings back Amit and he's told, oh yeah, you know how you're judging all these people, not just off of their lives, but the things they're going to do, and saying they're not worthy? Yeah, you're not worthy. And just that look of horror on his face, but also, this is what I want. I don't regret what I've done. I submit myself. I accept the punishment.
Yeah.
And, like this zealousness, it was really scary, really sad. It was a great performance. I think it was my favorite scene of his in the whole show.
Yeah, I liked his scenes where he's a doctor or whatever. That was
yeah.
really cool. And I was thinking about that too. That was, I think that like build up where he goes to the afterlife, and that's kind of cheesy because he's talking to Hippo and stuff, and they're on a boat that's going through the sand. It's
right.
just like that's not grounded anymore. So I think that's kind of what built me up to the.
That's fair.
The freaking Godzilla versus
right.
a big skeleton bird.
Yeah.
The fight at the end.
Maybe I was a little more okay with that because that is ripped straight out of Egyptian mythology. But if you don't know that, it is very absurd.
Yeah. And, well, I don't know. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about Shang-Chi. But anyways.
We don't talk about
I'm sure it follows some mythology too, but whatever. Yeah. I like the show. I'm more interested in, like, why did he need this third personality to pop out? Because we know now why Steven popped out. But now we know there's a third one, Jacob.
I have a theory about that.
Okay, what is it? I'm like, why would he need that?
In the 5th episode, we hear explicit statement that he was kicked out of the military. He was or I don't remember if they said it was honorably or dishonorably, but he was discharged because he went AWOL during a fugue state. We also know that Steven, while he had been a thing in his childhood, had not re-entered his life yet. So I think something traumatic happened in the military. Like there was some sort of line that Mark would not cross, but this other one can.
But he
this
needed to do it.
Exactly.
Probably something that
maybe
hey,
on
you need to go.
The orders of Bushman, his CO, something like that.
Right. Hey, you need to go wipe out this village.
Right.
He's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. And he goes crazy again. Then he's like, si, senor, and he goes and does it.
Little we know about Jake, he is someone who will follow orders no matter how evil they are.
Yeah.
And he might even take some pleasure out of it.
Yes.
Unlike the other two. Like Mark, he's good at what he does. He doesn't like to do it though.
But he's resigned with it. Like, this is who I am, and I have to accept it even though I hate it.
Yeah. So, any other thoughts on Moon Knight?
Speaking of Jake Lockley, we totally called it. While I didn't love the finale, the post-credit scene with him in it was great.
Yeah. It kind of tied up loose ends.
Oh yeah.
Nicely. So.
Because go on.
I was just gonna say I'll be happy to see, even if he doesn't get another show, if they continue to cameo the character. I know Oscar Isaac's in his 40s, so he can't do this forever, and he has a limited window. But if he's in a Blade movie or a Black Knight movie.
Yeah, because we know they're working towards a Blade movie with the Black Knight. So if they do, what is it called, Midnight Suns, I think it is, where you have a bunch of the darker, more violent Marvel characters in a comic together, I'd be down for a Midnight Suns movie.
They're kind of the gothic.
Yeah.
They
get Wolverine in there too.
They deal with vampires and zombies and things like that. So and going into transition to Doctor Strange, if that's okay with you guys. I feel like Doctor Strange and Moon Knight are kind of transitioning to that side of Marvel, where it's like, okay, now we can have zombies, now we can have vampires, now we can have ghosts and things like that. The supernatural side of Marvel.
Yeah, which was always established as being there, but it's not like we're going to explore it. But now we get a chance to.
Now we're dipping our toe in it.
Yeah. Actually, before we move on to Doctor Strange, Robert, what did you think of Moon Knight?
I like it.
That's it?
I mean, I got a few other thoughts on it, but you guys pretty much covered most of it. I do appreciate the fact that they did the bigger stuff, like the bigger CGI stuff in the dark, because it really does hide any mistakes, and it makes it easier for visual effects because they're on a TV budget. I know it's Marvel, but still,
it's still limited.
It looks pretty dang good.
Budget.
Like if you have $200 million for a 2-hour movie or $200 million for like a 5-hour show, it's gonna stretch a little thin.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it's funny because you can kind of see like, oh, this is where all their budget went. But I would say, honestly, side note, my favorite special effect would be the sky turning.
Yeah.
That was so
Probably.
cool.
It's simple, but really cool.
Yeah.
Probably not the hardest effect.
Probably
they
just did
did.
it in the volume.
Yeah, but still, I mean, it's just the way they were able to capture it. It was so cool.
And and the way they shot it, like from beneath them, so you were like watching it from like their point of view, kind of. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, and personally, I think it is cooler than the big boss fight, but
No, yeah. No,
but I appreciated them finally bringing Jake out, because I was thinking to myself, he's in that coffin. Who's in that coffin? I want to know who's in the coffin. And now we know.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Cool.
like Stefan really would love to see more of Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight, but I understand he is getting older, and there's other movies out there instead of getting captured in the Marvel franchise.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have to do all his stunts.
Yeah,
That's kind of my thing.
Put a stuntman in a motion capture suit.
Well, yeah, but the other thing though is that whole contract with Marvel.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, because how many guys have been caught up in Marvel for years now?
Right.
And it's hard for them to go off and do other stuff, because everyone's like, you're a Moon Knight.
Mm-hmm. If I understand it correctly, his contract was just for this one season, but he has expressed how he had a lot of fun doing this and would be open to exploring Moon Knight, the character, and other things down the line. But it's very much, it's in my court. I get to dictate if I come back or not.
I mean, I gotta say, that the way he played this character, for me, it was the most entertaining hero out of the MCU, because everyone's pretty well straightforward.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, yeah, Black Widow, she has a bad past. But Moon Knight has multiple personalities. There's like different stories with each personality. So for me, he's a more, I guess, three-dimensional character.
There's more to explore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No joke in the three-dimensional. No, we'll take all the joke in the three-dimensional.
Yeah.
But I guess it'd be 4D if you count Conchu.
Yeah.
It sounds like a Pokemon. Just throwing that out there. But otherwise, Moon Knight, I really liked it. It's definitely my favorite Marvel show so far. And it was actually one I look forward to every week.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yep.
No.
Back to my headphones.
I had one question. Why the heck were there monsters at the beginning of the show and not at the end? Like, he killed like a werewolf man at one point or something.
Right, like a jackal demon.
Yeah, I was confused why they were even there, and why did they have monsters at the beginning of the show?
Well, in all fairness, it was just the one monster, but it
Didn't he kill one in the very first episode and then another in the
Yeah, he
second
killed
episode?
one.
Yeah, but I think it was just, he's like, okay, we'll give you a little taste of, like, because many people hadn't heard of Moon Knight. Many people haven't even seen those hilarious fake comics that people make online. And so their only experience is, I know Oscar Isaac. Okay, sure, I'll watch this.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're just watching it, a jackal demon monster thing is an okay hook.
Okay.
Well, and also, as far as like the zombie tomb dudes, I mean, they were supposed to be like protectors
the mummy.
Yeah.
The reason I bring up the other monsters and not the mummy is because I actually like the mummy. I don't know the mummy's purpose either, but the mummy was cool and scary.
Well, those were protectors of that tomb.
The other monsters.
Yeah, those had been summoned by Harrow to go get Steven.
Yeah, they were trying to get the scarab, I think. Wasn't
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, are you
That's why
asking if, like, on a plot role what their role was, like
No,
plot
I
level,
mean-
or
Why you never saw them use
or like
it yet.
why in the writers' room they decided let's have a monster fight in this first episode?
Right. Probably the latter.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the plot, it's like, yeah, sure, they have a purpose, but
Yeah.
it's like they're not here anymore. So why would we have them in the first place? Could have just had dudes
Right.
like the rest of the time. But whatever, it's fine.
Like I do like how something I had mentioned a few weeks ago, when you do see this horrible monster and it's scary, oh no, and then the first time you see Moon Knight come out in the first episode, how it's trying to get away, that I think that's a bigger splash for me than just dude trying to kill me, oh no, dude is scared now. Because you don't see evil jackal demons the size of a gorilla get scared.
Sure. Right, it'd have to be a group of dudes if you wanted that to play off the
Right.
same, instead of just a dude.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, maybe they could have cast the mountain or something. But
Yeah, I mean, if you have the mountain and he's scared, then yeah.
Sure.
It makes sense. So, yeah, I didn't care for the inclusion of those CG monsters
That's fair.
specifically, but
Yeah.
other than that, because my thing when I went into the show is I saw behind the scenes videos of him doing the fight choreography, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this looks a lot like Daredevil. So
Mhm.
in my mind, I was like, it's gonna have the flying and all that, but
But he's
still
going to be beating up
fairly
drug dealers and human traffickers.
fairly grounded, yeah, like Daredevil. But it wasn't, and it wasn't until the second to last episode that it really started to click, and I'm like, okay, I see what this is really about. It's not about that stuff.
No.
Which I think is
maybe
better.
they'll do in the future, but
We were talking about this before the show. We were saying we understand why they're doing the just replace these heroes with just girls or just different people. Captain America is now Captain Falcon America, and Thor's getting a female Thor and all that, which is fine. But we'd rather see new powers.
Hold up. Oh, okay. I'm trying to listen to the stream and then it just cut off. It's loading.
Oh, okay.
We're good.
Yeah, no, well, I said we, but it's just me, maybe. But I'd rather see more powers and more diversity within their abilities and backgrounds and stuff. And, Moon Knight, I think it's a good thing it's not like Daredevil in every way. It still feels grounded, still pretty gritty.
Yeah.
And it's just got its own mythology twist with Egyptian stuff.
Funny enough, they both have a lot of similarities. You have somebody who has some kind of disability, who is religious, who has issues with their past, with their parents specifically, and they are hand-to-hand combat fighters, and they both work at night, and they both are kind of religious symbols. So they actually have a lot more in common, except for Moon Knight embraces the fantasy a lot more. So, any other final thoughts?
I look forward to seeing Moon Knight in future projects, even if it's not going to be a TV show.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I seriously doubt that he's not going to be in anything again, unless of course Oscar Isaac does have the ball in his court and he doesn't want to do it, which screw you.
Hey, I'll always be grateful at least for this one season of great television.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It didn't finish up that well. It's kind of on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So I hope it's not finished.
Yeah, they didn't do a great job because they did resolve all the issues, but one of my criticisms with the finale, I know we said we were transitioning, but I have to get this out there. The second to last episode ends on a real gut punch of Steven dying in the afterlife. He's been wiped from existence. He's been sentenced to oblivion. There's this statue in place of him. He is no longer there, which, seeing as he was just this alternate identity, is it feels like a real death, but it can also be an interpretation for he has healed the trauma of this portion of his life. He can move on. There's no more reason for this extra identity to be there.
Yeah.
And then the first scene of the next episode is
they hold
hey,
each other's
buddy,
hands.
You good? It's oh yeah, I'm totally alive again.
Yeah,
so,
that didn't make sense because they didn't explain that. They hold each other's hands, and they have the heart between them or something.
It's the power of friendship.
It made it so that their unbalanced soul was finally balanced because
but
they
fell in
didn't
the
view it
sand.
as two hearts.
But he was already freaking dead.
The way
this
I
dead
see
person
it,
died again.
the way I see it, it's a lot like the Nutty Professor.
Yeah.
He has that alternate personality buddy.
Right.
And he's supposed to be gone after the first one.
Yeah.
And then the second one, he shows up again just because they need him to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if it's in the mind, in my opinion, the rules are, and I know Nutty Professor, very good example. I know.
Yeah.
It's never gone. So I don't think his other personalities will ever truly be gone.
Well, I could see how that's true, but my problem with it is actually. And they all fell in the sand, right? But there was still a part of them that was still technically alive, and that was Jake.
Right.
And maybe this still doesn't explain how he brought him back.
I don't. Let me rephrase. I'm kind of where Stefan was with the Jackal Monster. I can buy it on a story level of it happening. I thought it was kind of bullcrap or whatever, but whatever. But the fact that it happened, it was such a gut punch at the end of one episode, and then it's fixed at the beginning of the next episode.
Yeah.
Could we have not waited another 10 minutes to do it?
Yeah, or sat on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like in Disney's Snow White. I give a lot of examples out of thin air. They at least sit on the idea that Snow White's dead for a long time.
They have a freaking funeral for her.
Yeah, they have a funeral. They have a little montage of words and everything else. It's wow, you feel the impact.
Right.
And then when the prince comes, it's a relief, whereas I see where Jed's coming from, where it's less of a relief. It's like, oh, of course you did that.
Or like in Game of Thrones, they kill off so many characters, and like the one character they do ever bring back is Jon Snow. And I think they might have brought him back a little too soon, but they brought him back like 3 or 4 episodes later.
Right.
Not 5 minutes later.
Right when they needed him, rather than, oh, let's just do it because we can.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, overall, I still like it. That was just my biggest complaint.
Yep. I think we all like it. It's just, it's definitely better than the others. The others are varying in quality. There's like one really good episode I liked from WOC, and Falcon Winter Soldier was a disaster.
Out, up, and down.
WandaVision was something that's cool to watch once, and then after that you don't want to see it again. Hawkeye is just like C average, pretty good, watchable.
Yeah.
But this one was better. I'd say it's around B-ish. On to the multiverse of madness.
Yes.
Now, how shall I begin this one?
I don't know.
So
it's a weird
initial thoughts that Brendan and Jed allegedly had, you guys can correct me, is that as you're sitting through it, Brendan's like, I don't know that I agree with the character development. And Jed's like, what character development? And Brendan said, oh, I see we agreed then. So
yeah, that's basically how it went down.
Yeah, for me, what I agree with that, but what I do like is that it's a character exploration, not so much of them developing. Because Doctor Strange has just been, I think he's been great in all his films, but we sort of rushed and we've never looked and said, hey, buddy,
who is this guy?
Are you all right? What have you sacrificed? And this film manages to do those things and say, okay, what does he have to leave behind? What does he have to sacrifice? Then for Wanda, and it's kind of unfortunate that anyone has to watch WandaVision I think you could probably understand.
I don't think you have to, but you're not going to get the full weight if you didn't watch WandaVision.
Right, because just the idea of sleeping and you dream and you're like, oh, I have children and I know I can find them with this magical spell book.
Right.
But
I guess that's
let's wait a little bit before going into certain spoilers for the film. We can talk about that later.
Yes.
But
spoilers.
I will say, kind of the way I was walking into this, I was not expecting a Marvel movie. I was expecting a Sam Raimi movie. There's an interview of Sam Raimi that I've always loved where he was asked, like, hey, the Coen brothers, who are these incredible directors and are gifted in, making entertaining films and art, and, some of the greatest things, like anytime they make a movie, is Oscars written all over. Not just in that, you think it's pretentious. No, they're not pretentious. They just are that good. And they helped work on Sam Raimi's very first movie when he was just like 22 or whatever, making Evil Dead. And he was asked in this interview, do you ever feel like sad or jealous or whatever that these people have gone on to have this illustrious, incredible career, and you're just making fun schlock? And he's like, no, I freaking love every time they make a new movie. They make great movies. As far as me, I just like making movies that are fun.
Yeah.
Like the first Evil Dead movie, they specifically wanted to make a movie that would be the most engaging movie to watch at a drive-in theater. Every single moment would be something new and something over the top and something fun. And so watching a Sam Raimi movie, I'm always happy when there's good character development and solid writing and all that, but I never go into it expecting that. I go in there expecting weird over-the-top violence, lots of funny moments, just overall fun. And there's some problems with the writing in this movie. Specifically, some of the dialogue is very stock, very standard superhero. But oh my gosh, I was grinning like an idiot. And I will say this: it's definitely a horror movie. The second half in particular, but it's not. I kind of look at horror in two different ways. There's like heavy horror, like The Shining or The Witch, where it's like there is no hope. Look at this incredibly dour, scary thing that leaves you shaken to your soul. Then there's pop horror. We're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to eat popcorn. Are they going to get out of this out alive? That's kind of the Sam Raimi thing. He's always had really fun horror. And there are very few things in a movie that will make me laugh and have more glee than terrible, horrible, painful, very fun deaths. And I was laughing a lot in this movie.
Yeah, no kidding. This was a violent movie. That's why I kind of like the rating system's kind of bull crap. Because like this was way more violent than
Ant-Man.
Yeah, Ant-Man should be PG.
Ant-Man should be PG.
This movie is pretty intense.
This was walking the line of R, like Sam Raimi likes to do, like in Drag Me to Hell.
I mean, my gosh, like I was talking to my wife about this. I was like, Zack Snyder's Justice League. The only thing that I really think pushes it over the edge there is the language has some F-bombs, but like the violence in that compared to this, which it's like night and day, like people's heads exploding on the inside,
people being cut in half, necks being snapped,
guy falling on a spike and
multiple spikes,
and his eyes are
still
open,
not dying.
blood everywhere, and they replace like instead of blood on a head, it's like oil.
Yeah, 1 second.
Robot oil.
Yeah, it's way worse.
Yeah, it stopped and restarted. Are we still recording at least?
We're still recording.
Okay. Look.
But
should we just
streaming is why OBS? Why are you being recorded?
We're having technical difficulties. If you're still seeing this, should we keep going and then upload this full version later?
Give me a second, maybe.
We need a technical difficulties graphic.
OBS. OBS just crashed on me. So not OBS, but
Oh my gosh, yeah.
the streaming crashed.
Yeah. I really like
So,
the technical difficulties.
Yeah, we can upload the rest. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, and we're still recording.
Okay.
I just want to make the comment.
Okay. So we got cut out there. YouTube kicked us out, or we just had some technical difficulties. Not exactly sure, but I'm just gonna pick up where we left off.
It's violent.
It's very violent. I was saying the rating system's bullcrap.
Even the beginning, which isn't as violent, still has a CGI eyeball being plucked out of a giant squid monster.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and I thought that was like the limit. I was like, okay, that was pretty cool, but they're not gonna do anything else. Holy cow, I was wrong.
Oh yeah.
There was a point in the movie where a guy falls on the spikes we were talking about, and I said out loud, "What are we watching? Like, am I allowed? Are kids allowed to be in here?
Yeah, I heard a story
like,
about
wow.
this guy going to watch the movie, and there was this little kid who's going with his parents, like, "Mom, I want you to dress up like a Scarlet Witch for Halloween." And walking out of this is like, "Mom, I don't want you to dress up like Scarlet Witch."
Yeah, she's
Lots of people do very scary things in this movie.
Yeah,
Good guys and bad.
It's very Lord of the Rings PG-13. Like Saruman falls on a spike in the extended edition of Return of the King. Oh, hello.
So OBS crashed on us. By crashed, I mean YouTube decided to stop working. So we're gonna finish up the episode and we're gonna post it online for everyone else to see after we're done. Apologize for the inconvenience, and YouTube. What the heck, man? Come on. We were just talking about Multiverse. It just came out. This is beautiful.
Yeah. What the heck?
Okay. I just decided to post a short real quick so people know.
Sounds good.
Anyway, I also liked how creepy it was.
Oh yeah.
Just Wanda climbing out of the mirror, she looked like a Tim Burton creation a little bit. How
It's very Evil Dead,
was. Yeah. So,
this like
how did you make Wanda scary?
an evil book, and then undead spirits saying stuff like, "I'll swallow your soul." This is very Evil Dead.
Yeah. Are we gonna talk spoilers? Are we kind of talking spoilers?
I will say, before we get into spoilers, the very ending of the movie before post-credit scene, without going into what happens, that's a very Sam Raimi thing to do, where, the day has been saved, and then at the very end, oh, you remember that thing you did earlier that was bad? Yeah.
Here's the
consequence, and now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the funny...
Just horrific, painful thing.
You guys keep on saying Sam Raimi. The only Sam Raimi I've seen is the Spider-Man movies. So I'm like, I don't think he did exactly what he did in this movie. Like, I don't recognize it as much.
He's known for his camera style, which is usually very frenetic and handheld. Lots of flashing colors.
Yeah.
And over-the-top creative violence. The most Sam Raimi-ish scene in Spider-Man is definitely the scene where they're trying to get the arms off Doc Ock and they go crazy. Imagine that scene, but for 2 hours, and that's this movie. Also with magic.
Okay, so he might have gotten toned back a little bit.
Definitely.
Crazy close-ups, like when he closes up on Green Goblin.
Yeah, lots of
that
face
sort of
close-ups.
thing.
Or in the Spider-Man movies when there'll be the I'm forgetting the technical term, but like all the different images overlaid as like Peter Parker is looking at ads as you see the ad, he's circling different things and trying to buy a car, all that stuff.
Yeah.
that was done in a dramatic context in this movie a few times, and it worked really well. That's also a very Sam Raimi thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does all those close-ups a lot, like when, with Wanda or with Doctor Strange, when they're about to perform a certain ritual or spell. And you can definitely see in the camera techniques when that happens. I haven't seen all the Evil Dead or even one of them all the way through, but I've seen enough where I'm like, oh, that I see what you did there. You know, her covered in the oil. That's like Ash covered in blood, and all those sort of things. It's like, okay. Or when the lady says, "Go back to hell." And to the demons, I was like, oh my gosh.
Lots of
right
very Evil Dead one-liners.
Right out of Evil Dead. So yeah, it definitely references it a lot. It references horror a lot.
And even the stuff that wasn't as like Evil Dead-ish is the beginning fight with the squid monster. It did feel very much like the Raimi Spider-Man stuff. Like with the I'm landing on a ledge on this stone building and oh no, it's crumbling away. But Doctor Strange, even though he can fly, he's swinging right now.
Yeah. For some reason.
Yeah.
Swinging.
Yeah. It was a fun movie. I definitely want to talk about
the
new character.
Spoilers. Oh, before we go into spoilers, this new character.
I like America.
Spoilers.
America Chavez.
Chavez.
Spoiler adjacent, I guess.
Yeah. I'm just gonna talk about her powers and kind of how she's developed a little bit.
She's not.
Yeah.
She's not really. I mean, there's just like a speech at the end that's supposed to motivate her, but you don't really get her big struggle. I don't feel like there's any real resolution for her. I actually do feel like there's some resolution for Strange in the end. He does get,
Yeah, it's not
literally
much, but it is there.
Literally talk to like ghosts of the past in a way that he resolves some things. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Let's see who else there's. Wong. He's just in there. He's just trying to do his best.
He's being Wong.
Elizabeth Olsen has a bit of an arc, not a huge arc, but it is, I think, one of the greatest performances in the MCU, her in this movie.
Yeah, it's very similar to her arc in, were you good, Robert? Were you good?
He's grunting in agreement.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that at all. I just realized why we crashed.
Oh. Okay. Well, yeah, it was Wanda's arc was very similar to WandaVision, though I enjoyed watching this more because it's shorter. And it's more to the point, and it was just fun. Yeah. Do we?
Yeah, let's go into the spoilers.
Yeah, let's go into spoilers.
Speaking of Wanda, some people don't like
spoilers.
Wanda is, in fact, the bad guy. I was just glad that they finally committed, because in WandaVision they're like, oh well, she's misunderstood. She's gone through trauma, and she does all these horrible things, but we'll let her get away with it because. Yeah. And it's like. Well, which is it? Is she a terrible person who knows what she's doing, or is she controlled by somebody else? It turns out the latter is not happening. I thought she was being influenced by the other witch, but that didn't happen. But this film, it's like, no, she's the bad guy. She has a goal. She has an objective. She wants to be with her boys, and she'll do anything and remove anybody in her path. And she makes a whole lot of justifications, and they challenge her. They are constantly saying, well, what are you going to do if you run into another you? Are you going to just steal the boys from the other you? She doesn't answer. She just tortures people because she's gone pretty insane in this movie. Yeah. And I'm like, at least you guys committed. She's always been flip-floppy. She's mostly been on the side of good, but now she's just like, she's finally just being totally selfish for the first time ever, and it's terrifying.
It's awesome.
Yeah, there was a movie critic I saw on Twitter. I want to quote them directly because they congealed my thoughts into it perfectly. They said, by the opening of this movie, Wanda has made no atonement for what she did in WandaVision and is living so openly so Strange can easily find her. He knows she enslaved an entire town, but he shrugs it off. And he promises, oh, I'll get you back on the lunchbox. For him, it's not a big deal. Like, it begins exactly where we left off with her, like, oh, I feel sad about what I did. I don't want any consequences, though. And everyone's like, oh, it's okay, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
But then, hey, a superhero's done something monstrous to innocent people to live in her fantasy world, and other superheroes shrug it off because she's one of them. She's never in doubt. She's one of the good guys. Multiverse of Madness has Strange do exactly what Monica Rambeau did at the end of WandaVision. But then immediately points out that how insanely stupid and short-sighted that is, and that somebody with that power and no desire to atone isn't suddenly going to get better.
Yeah.
In that scene where he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna get you back on the lunchbox," like 45 seconds later, realizes, "Oh, you're evil. You're the villain of this movie."
Yeah.
And then, and it's pretty early in the movie where she's like, "Okay, yep, you're right. I'm trying to kill her. I'm not trying to hide it. This is who I am."
Yeah.
And she's always saying, "I'm not a monster. I'm not a monster. I'm not a monster." And I'm just looking at the bodies piling up.
Mm-hmm.
You're a monster. You're a monster.
You murdered
you're a
that
monster,
person
you're
and
a
that
monster.
person and that person. Now, this isn't me trying to say that she is, like just totally evil and irredeemable, all this stuff. I think that she's very complicated. I think I have a great deal of empathy for her. The amount of trauma and pain she's gone through is incalculable. It's incredible. I have a great amount of pity for her. But that doesn't justify any of her actions, nor does it say she shouldn't deserve any consequences for her actions.
Absolutely.
Her being a monster doesn't make her any less human, but her being human doesn't make her any less of a monster.
Exactly. And we've watched enough where it's like, yeah, I got sympathy for you. But I'm sorry, every superhero has suffered in some way or another.
Not just every superhero, everyone.
Everyone.
But that's not justification to do bad things.
Specifically, name a superhero who didn't have somebody close to them die, or didn't feel responsible for the deaths of somebody close to them. Yeah, sorry, Wanda, you're not unique in that department.
Yeah.
Well, it was an accident. WandaVision, it started out as an accident. And she thought she was actually...
started, but then, within a few episodes, she's like, "Okay, I'll destroy the drones, I'll banish people who are trying to end this, I'll expand the Hex, I'll control these people. Vision's starting to confront me, so okay, roll credits, I'm going to threaten you and gaslight you." It started as an accident, but she figured out what was going on immediately and said, "Okay, I can roll with this."
Yeah.
She was okay.
She fell in love with that idea, and she did have to murder. Like, she it wasn't her fault that Vision died, but she actually had to do it, and it didn't mean anything. Like, yeah, like Jed said, you feel for her, but of course it's evil, and of course you shouldn't do that.
Yeah,
and
don't do that. Don't murder.
it's funny because Stefan did lean over to me and he says, "Why is he trying to, why is she being treated like a good guy?" Or maybe you told me in a trailer or something.
Like, because there is this
like,
idea
why is she trying to do
a
that?
mother will do anything for her children. And that's kind of her justification in this. But Strange is right, 100%, when he keeps telling her, "Your children weren't real.
Yeah.
You're not a mother. You're just a murderer."
Well, and then there's the point where somebody asks her, "What are you going to do with her mother of these children? What happens to their mom?" Now, I don't think she said this.
She doesn't answer, but just this look on her face.
I think
doesn't matter. I don't care.
What I wanted her to say, maybe she was thinking this, was, I am their mother. Which I think is kind of the feeling she had.
Yeah.
And then somebody pointed out to her from the very beginning, what would your children think if they saw you like this?
They will never know.
Like,
they'll never know.
But you'll know. And she's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, joke's on her. She should have just went to another universe that didn't see her, because at the end her children do see her. She should have just went to another.
Even that she can't just
go off the map.
She can't just go live in another universe, because if she does, they establish the rules in this. If you go into a universe where you're already there, you can destroy that reality, your own reality, and or both. The only reason this character, America Chavez, is able to is because
she's the only one.
She's the only one for all the universes.
Yeah. Why don't she...
Yeah,
this
so
is I have a horrible idea.
She's threatening the lives of her children just so that she can be with them. It's incredibly selfish.
And the other option is to go around murdering every single variant of her children until she finds orphans and then take them back with her. There's all kinds of crazy
Which she would probably
ideas.
Do. She's crazy.
She's out of her mind. She's like, "I've never hurt you." It's like, you've hurt a lot of people, my friend.
Yeah, that was bone chilling when she has her children and she's saying, "No, I would never hurt you. I would never hurt anyone."
Screams like a witch at them. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I also have to say, half the people in this movie sounded like you, Stephen, because it sounded like they were censoring themselves for a certain derogatory term for women and or dogs. By saying, like, "Stuff you, witch," or
witch.
"We're gonna go get that witch." And like, okay, I guess she's literally a witch, but this is kind of corny, and I love it.
Yeah.
That witch.
Yeah. Let's go to the flip side with Doctor Strange. How do we like him and his variants?
There's less than I thought it was going to be. There's only 4.
So there's R Strange.
There's
Ponytail Strange.
Yep.
There's Evil Strange.
And there's Clean-Shaven Strange.
Yeah, and I'll add Zombie Strange just for fun.
Yeah, I mean, we are in spoiler section, so he is
Yeah.
Well,
Ponytail Strange.
He was Ponytail Strange. Was.
Now
Yeah.
he's zombie Ponytail Strange. Possessed Ponytail Zombie Strange.
Mm-hmm.
But
put that on your tombstone.
I don't know if I said this on the podcast, but The Northman was one of the most metal movies I've ever seen. I mean, this must be a year for metal because this movie is in a close second place with a undead Doctor Strange wielding a cape of levitation sewn out of the souls of the damned, flying over to fight an evil witch on the top of a cursed mountain. That's freaking cool.
yeah, I was really hoping he'd be able to defeat her in this form because that'd just be so like Sam Raimi. Like,
yeah.
Now that he's as creepy as possible and as metal as possible, now he can beat her because he has the souls of the damned, and he's a zombie.
He got pretty close with Wong's help.
Yeah.
So that was just sweet. I really liked the part from him going to her to shoot Christine, saying, "Those are the souls of the damned. They're spirits. You're the master of the mystic arts. Use them." And then it's just like, and he just starts
You're right.
wielding them.
Cue the trailer shot.
And
Yeah.
so I was like, that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Ponytail Strange, he's kind of just regular Doctor Strange, but he's willing to kill off the kids in the grand calculus of the multiverse that it doesn't matter, which is a line we've heard before.
Right, but in that context, it's people who shouldn't be here who are bad guys, not a teenage girl.
Mm-hmm.
So it is the same, but it's also different.
I mean, he did say the same thing, sort of, in Infinity War when he said he's gonna...
Yeah.
He would let you or the boy, referring to Iron Man and Spider-Man, if it's between you or the stone, I would let you guys die.
But then he didn't do it.
But then he didn't do it. But that's because
This is Strange who would.
But that's because he saw the future.
Yeah, that's
where
true. That's true.
that was the only way, was to let him live.
Which I'm glad they addressed. I don't know. Apparently, Iron Man, when he got back to Earth, is like, "Hey, by the way, everyone, this is Doctor Strange's fault. He gave up the stone." But he gets back to Earth, and you have everyone like, "Okay, yeah, we helped you save the day in the end." But even for somebody who came back while they were gone, like their brother died, and they never got to say goodbye, and everyone's going to be the armchair quarterback saying, "Yeah, but you could have done it better." It's like, dude, what do you want me to say? I saved the universe, and I couldn't save everyone. I'm sorry. And that's not him being a prick. He actually is sorry he couldn't save everyone.
Right.
Well, they explained that part of his character too when he confronted his other self,
His darker
the evil
self.
self.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was able to confront that issue of like, look, I want to save everyone, but I know I can't, so I have to accept it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Dark Strange before we get to Illuminati Strange. So let's talk first about Doctor Strange. I think they call him Sinister Strange.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to Illuminati Strange, and then we'll transition to the cameos. Does that sound like a good game plan?
I like it. Also, how substantive is this movie that we've been talking about it for this long, and we haven't even talked about the cameos yet. That is how you do cameos. They can be done well, they can be fun, but they should not be the content.
Yep.
With the exception of Spider-Man.
That was one of the...
But that was where it was written into the narrative of it.
Yeah. So, Sinister Strange is just the evil Doctor Strange we've all seen in this trailers, and he's been embracing sort of the dark creepiness that Wanda's been embracing.
It's not literally the one from What If, but it may as well be.
Right, it's close enough. Though
that one's redeemed a little bit, I think, though.
Yeah,
right.
The one from What If is probably the most powerful version of Strange we've seen.
Yeah.
Easy. But this guy, what I really liked is they have a little dialogue to prove if the other one is really like him, and he relates his story about how his sister died drowning in the ice and he was unable to save her. I was like, that's something about Doctor Strange I did not know.
It's retroactively giving humanity to him being an absolute jerk at the beginning of the first one. Something that I really liked how they made him unlikable in the first one because it made the change bigger. But it's not just he's doing it because he's a jerk. It's no, I will do anything. I don't care about people's feelings. I'm going to do whatever to save people.
Yeah, and he's afraid of getting close to people because if I can't save them, then what?
Yeah.
And that was a nice moment. But then, as it progresses, and you see his evil side has a need for people that he's neglected. He's like, I'll give you this magical spell book if you give me your version of Christine. And he's like, I don't think she'll go for that. And they end up fighting. I was like, yeah, Doctor Strange at one point or another has to stop and say, you know what? I need to have a life for me for once, and not be afraid of those attachments. And I think they're delving into that a little bit. But I really enjoyed their fight. I just gotta say, Harry Potter fights in films really sucked as far as wizardry and creativity.
Would it point a stick at you hard?
Yeah, versus Doctor Strange, where they're throwing musical notes of different colors at each other, and all these insane stuff.
And it wasn't just I'm throwing different notes. The score working into that, it was Danny Elfman fighting. If it sounded like Danny Elfman, the film composer, versus Danny Elfman, the lead of Oingo Boingo.
Yeah, and just it's like and all the going back and forth between the two, using different instruments. I was like, oh, this is very reminiscent of the old Disney cartoons.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have a battle of two different kinds of music.
It's very
Fantasia.
weird.
Very Looney
Like
Tunes.
Fantasia. Or the one where it's the violins versus the brass cartoon that Disney made way back when.
So that didn't release with with Cars.
With Cars. No, this one's way older. I'm thinking of Walt Disney.
Well, they did a similar one with a one-man band. It was brass. One-man band. It was
that was good too.
So the fights, not just that one, but every fight against Wanda, I'm like, yeah, this is more interesting magic than they ever do in Harry Potter.
Because you easily could have just had her doing red blast, red blast,
And he's
red
like,
blast.
Orange block, orange
Yeah.
block.
And even though, yes, his magic is generally orange, and yes, her magic is generally red, they did creative things with them.
Yeah, no, they
It gives me hope for a potential Green Lantern movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's get there someday. But yeah, we were watching the first Doctor Strange before we went to go watch this one, and there's definitely an improvement even on that movie. And that movie had pretty decent magic, I would say. But it was a lot of just making the shields and throwing discs at each other. This one, they made swords out of thin air.
I'm going to throw snakes at you, and as you're chopping the snakes up, they're turning it into a hydra. But then you blasted me, making them dissolve into fire, and then I'm trapping you in a mirror, but you're crawling out of reflections all over the room.
Yeah, no,
that was terrifying.
The question, the biggest question is Grace, my wife. She was saying why don't they just put her in the mirror dimension? Because they weren't doing that at first, and then they finally put her in there, put glass shards all over her so she can't get out.
And it was a pretty smart thing too, of just hey, you gotta go through me if you want her. Okay, and just walks right into the trap.
And then she just sticks her hand through the mirror dimension, and you're like, oh my gosh, no one can do that. And she is so powerful in this movie.
I did see some people were upset with that she's able to get out of the mirror dimension. Well, if you pay attention, it's a recurring theme in this one specifically, and in WandaVision it's explicit. She can alter reality. So that's how she's able to get out of the mirror dimension, is altering reality.
Did we forget she almost took out Thanos by herself?
Yeah, she can do basically anything. Beat her.
That's one of the biggest things too, is that I really appreciate about this movie, because in the WandaVision they built it up to be that she is chaos, like she is the most powerful witch out there, to the point where she can bend reality. And in this movie, Doctor Strange looked like, okay, we need to set up as much protection around here because she will break through. It built up of how powerful she is, so it makes breaking the reality of the mirror dimension possible.
And I do
I'm
like
totally fine with
the limitations on what she does in the movie. I like how they took it right out of the comics. It's not necessarily what she can do, it's what she's willing to do. Why didn't she do this earlier? Because she was being reasonable. Now she's not anymore. And her not being reasonable is, I'm going to kill 100 people. Me not being reasonable is, I'm going to risk reality by diving into my body in another dimension to go kill tons and tons of people in glorious combat.
So let's move on to Illuminati Strange. So the thing that you guys might in the film, Illuminati Strange is delving into some dark magic or something, sort of like the Ancient One from the first film, and they execute it. Do we know why?
He got a whole dimension destroyed, a whole universe.
Oh yeah,
because you got a hold of the dark
hold.
magic book.
He got a hold of the dark hold. That's quite the weird name.
I forget who it was. There were when the country was being founded, there was this argument that was going on between Jefferson and Hamilton. I forget which side said which. I think Jefferson had the side I'm going to say. But they basically said, okay, the president at times is going to do things that they should not. Are we going to say, yeah, it's okay because they're the president, and, sometimes they have to do that? Not that it's okay, but, if the president never has to say break a law to do the right thing, should they do it? Both of them said yes, they should, but Hamilton said, yeah, they should do it. And Jefferson said, yes, they should do it, and then they should submit themselves to the consequences. Doctor Strange, and Illuminati Strange at least in my eyes, like, look at all the terrible things I did to kill Doctor Strange. We beat it, we saved the universe. Alright. Just build a statue of me when you kill me, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he took it like a champ.
Yeah.
He just got on his knees. He looks so weird without his facial hair in that shot. Just because you're seeing him the whole movie with facial hair.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's just all crying. And then, what's that guy's name?
Black Bolt.
The fork.
First
Black
cameo.
Black Bolt?
Black Bolt is in the film.
Yeah, Black Bolt's
Played
in
by
it.
Anson Mount, the original actor from the terrible show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until the credits. But yeah, it's we'll go into it a bit later, but they have returning people, they have alternate versions of people, they have stuff from cartoons, they have stuff from terrible things that people didn't like, they have hypothetical things that people have been asking for. It was a great lineup for the Illuminati.
Yeah, it was cool. Cool stuff. But yeah, this Strange, we didn't get a whole lot of screen time with him, but it was cool to explore this Strange because I felt like each Strange was a reflection on the Strange we have in 616.
What could he be? What could he do?
Yeah, and what personalities he has in him,
Mm-hmm.
And how he stands out from them. And I like that character exploration there, as Stefan said, because we do get to see that he is willing to do whatever it takes, but this Strange will do whatever it takes. Plus, he'll try to save everyone, and try to be safe. He'll break the rules like all the other Stranges will, but he kind of knows the consequences, and I don't know. He's just the best one, I guess. They're all kind of the same, but he just happens to get away with it, and he has a happy ever after all the time.
Rule breaking was a theme in this movie. You compare Doctor Strange to Wanda. Wanda breaks the rules, and she's a villain.
Right.
Doctor Strange breaks the rules, and he's a good guy.
Well,
Why is that?
She does it very selfishly, I think, in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he does it to save the universe.
He does it, to save the universe, but also he makes a very drastic decision while they're in the middle of a fight for their lives. She is under no threat, decides, I'm going to do this selfish thing that will risk not just my reality, but many other realities. And you know what? Even if it does work and doesn't risk realities, I'll still kill lots of people to do it.
Yeah, he will break rules if the risk is not destroying more lives.
It's always selfless.
The Strange that destroyed a universe obviously didn't care about that universe. Or I don't know if he knew that was a rule or not, but
he knew it was a rule. He knew it was a possibility.
Yeah, but he was willing to take that risk though. He's like,
but he was taking the risk with someone else.
He's like, if their universe is erased from existence, so be it. It'll save mine.
But then when that happened, he's like, oh geez, I shouldn't have done that. Even the ends did not justify the means. I accept the punishment.
Yeah, we were talking about this with our brother-in-law actually. We were just, how in Spider-Man No Way Home he breaks the rules, and it's like, why would he do that? I'm like, he always breaks the rules when he kind of feels like it's the right thing to do, and I think he likes to rebel against authority figures.
Yeah.
But when he's in control, like with the Time Stone, Iron Man's like, why don't we throw it down in the garbage disposal? Why don't we destroy it? He's like, oh well, we have to protect it. So I think he has a problem with authority.
Yeah.
And
he also has a little bit of hypocrisy, which he was kind of addressing in this movie.
Yes, he does. That's what I'm getting to. He's like, when he's in control, he's like, oh, we have to follow the rules, Iron Man. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm gonna go make some balloon animals, and yeah, I think that's cool. It was a fun exploration of his character in this movie.
Yeah. So let's go on to the Illuminati themselves. So I'll start off by introducing what?
We talk about Black Bolt. We mentioned him briefly.
Yeah, we mentioned Black Bolt, which nobody knows unless you're us, probably.
I know the Inhumans get their power from Terrigen Mist. I know he can shatter a mountain with a whisper. I know his wife is a redhead.
With magic hair.
Or hair stretches or whatever.
I didn't know that. See, this is
long,
how little I know.
He gets long and grabs you or whatever.
Huh.
So,
I think.
Yes. So
that's like your hair.
Speaking of growing long and stretching and grabbing things, Mr. Fantastic is in fact in this film played by
John Krasinski.
Yeah, I was going to say Jim.
Jim.
Yeah. He's played by Jim. And he's very much just Jim. Yeah, John Krasinski's just like, oh yeah,
This is not like Reed Richards in the comics, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
I'm curious. A Fantastic Four movie's coming out. Is this our first taste of John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, or is this because watching Loki or watching Spider-Man, different versions can be the same person or they can be different people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So is this just okay? This is the only chance we'll ever have to have him be Mr. Fantastic. Let's do it now, or is this is a taste of what we'll see in the MCU?
You know, it could be the former because it's like this is what it'd be like, and they think it's terrible, which is why spoiler. They kill him off.
Right. To me, this very much feels like when they had a fake Pietro in WandaVision. You can tell somewhere in the writers' room said, "Hey, if this is just a one-time thing, wouldn't it be fun if we had the guy from the X-Men movies? Wouldn't it be fun if we had John Krasinski?" It's very much in the same vein to me. I won't be surprised if not only he is Mr. Fantastic in the MCU, but he also directs the Fantastic Four movie now that the director has left the project. But I'm not expecting it.
Yeah. So, as we introduce the characters, I'd like us to each talk about how they died. So, Wanda possesses the body of Wanda in another dimension because she can't travel interdimensionally.
It's very everything everywhere all at once.
And she murders... Oh my gosh, so...
First is Black Bolt.
Yeah, you talk... We'll do that in order. You talk about Black Bolt.
So Mr. Fantastic is like, hey... better step down. This guy can destroy you with a single word from his mouth. She says, "What mouth?"
Oh.
And it goes full on Matrix where the camera pans down and he's missing his mouth, just skin, and he just the horror on his face, and he tries saying something and blows out the side of his head.
Like a balloon deflating.
Luckily, his mask is super strong and can withstand his super explosive voice.
Yeah, but you still see his head like explode and then crumble.
No, yeah, it's totally like rated R crap right there.
It's like somebody described it as the boys' violence with.
It's not R rated because you didn't see a blood spray out the side of his head. That's the only thing that wasn't there.
It was like still very disturbing.
Like, oh my word!
I think that was my favorite.
Knows how to avoid the red line.
Yeah. So then, right after that, and even before that, he tries to reason with her because this is a more mature, advanced in his years and experienced Reed Richards. He says, I have children, Wanda. I understand. And she's like, do they?
Is their mother still alive?
Yeah. Is their mother still alive? And he says, yes. She's like, good. There'll be somebody around to raise them. I was like, that is the holy. Oh.
and she just like turns him to spaghetti, and you're like, oh, we've seen stuff like this happen in like Infinity War.
Oh my gosh!
But then his head explodes at the end.
The lamest like thing ever. First, she murders. Well, Black Bolt kind of murders himself.
Yeah.
But she starts it, and Mr. Fantastic is like.
Like, I'm gonna stop you. Oh shoot.
And she just grates him like cheese. And then he's just like,
It was
and then his
very...
head blows up. Captain Marvel, speed of light, does nothing.
Which I like the.
They're just sort of like.
They use the actress from the original Captain Marvel movie. How in the comics that character Monica, no, not Monica Rambeau. Who's the mother's name?
Oh, I don't know.
The mother of Monica Rambeau.
I can't remember. The mother of Monica Rambeau.
The insufferable lady.
She had been, she was great in No Time to Die, but she had been in the comics Captain Marvel at one point, so this time, okay, she's Captain Marvel, that's why she hasn't aged since the 90s, okay, I can buy it. She gets blasted quite a bit, and a statue falls on her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
She's probably not a cameo anyone was, like, super excited about.
Yeah, nobody...
It was neat to see. But
nobody
it was
really
like,
cheered.
okay, interesting.
Alright.
Yeah. I think the biggest cameos were definitely...
We'll get to that one, but first, Agent Carter.
Are we talking about her death?
Yeah, so Agent Carter, another version, someone we've seen in animation.
Captain Carter.
Yes,
Carter.
sorry, Captain Carter.
She gets killed.
Captain.
They all get killed. Yeah, it was very much a...
She got killed in how everyone should die in the movies and shows when they get hit by Captain America's shield.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's pulling his punches or something.
Yeah, but it's still a razor sharp thing that he's throwing. It's like, oh gosh.
Is it razor sharp? Because I would catch it if it was razor sharp.
Yeah,
He catches it just before it hits his palm.
Okay. Every single time.
Well, everyone's fat rolls like catches it when.
Oh,
it's
yes,
it
yes.
catches it right before.
Well, apparently Captain Carter has
fit.
no fat rolls.
No, she's fit as crap. No, Captain Carter's in this from What If. Not the same one, but he's definitely
Same idea.
Same idea. Well, same costume, except she has a jetpack. It's definitely a move over, guys. This is a girl fight scene because they kill the guys immediately, and the girls have a cat fight.
It's a little easier seeing as it's 2 girls instead of a dozen girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I still enjoyed this very much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Infinity or Endgame where all the girls just happen to show up on the one part of the battlefield. What are the odds? Take a statistics class and tell me that's realistic.
Like I didn't mind in Infinity when there was 3 girls taking.
No, that was actually cool.
Yeah.
It was,
Well, those girls
more
are cool.
intimate, grounded battle.
Yeah.
Versus,
Those girls were cool.
As opposed to just we're not even going to do anything. It's just we'll all look cool, and then I guess Mantis will make someone fall asleep. Others will like I contributed.
It's like what's Mantis?
Yeah, Mantis is like you're feeling pain because your arm's missing.
He mourns for his arm.
But no, when you see like someone running in the shadows, like, and she's like looking around, okay, where's Captain Carter? And she's jumping out, laying the smackdown on her, throws the shield, and just, I can throw the shield too. Straight through her, embeds itself in a pillar, dripping in Captain Carter's blood.
She's Tron.
You don't see Captain Carter cut in half, but you see
Her face just.
You see her chest up, and then her chest just fall over on the floor, and then you know exactly what happened to her.
Darth Maul style.
It's very, very violent movie.
It's like, oh my word.
And her death was pretty sad. But she did say the line. She said the line.
I can do this all day.
She said the thing.
And then she proved she couldn't. It's like I didn't think it was that funny, but you know.
No, just it's funny because Captain America, he always could do it all day.
Well,
But Captain Carter, I could do this all day.
Before we talk about the final member of the Illuminati,
consider all day.
Before we talk about the final member of the Illuminati, let's talk about the second to last one because we all know which one the final one is. But Mordo is in this.
Yeah, Mordo's
he's cool.
in this.
It's
that was funny.
They took advantage of the fact that they both knew other versions of each other. So Doctor Strange trying to get him to rise up and fight him is like, oh well, if you're anything like my Mordo, then you're probably like this. You probably hated this other guy. You were glad that you could finally kill him and take his place.
You were jealous.
Yeah, and so I thought that was a good use of a multiverse story, something you couldn't exactly do in any other movie, even a time travel movie, unless it was multiverse.
You like how they were setting up Mordo to be like kind of the bad guy for Doctor Strange 2 at the end of Doctor Strange 1. But then they totally didn't. They're like, oh yeah, he's been a pain in my butt off screen for the last couple of years.
I guess Doctor Strange 1.5 was cool. We'll never get to see it. I don't know. Maybe he'll be the villain of the third one.
Yeah, maybe.
It's just like it's just kind of like how with the Dark Knight trilogy, it's the League of Assassins or the League of Shadows, and then the Joker, the League of Shadows, because that's what Bane is now.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe I don't know.
Sure.
You know, he's still I mean, I didn't see him as a jerk in the original per se until the end, but he's a jerk in this one because it's like your friends are all dying out there and you're having this petty squabble with Doctor Strange.
In all fairness, he didn't know that they were dying. He should have known.
Yeah, well, Doctor Strange was like, your guys aren't coming back.
If nobody's reporting back to you, like, if she's so easy to take out, why haven't they reported back? I'd be like, I better go check on that. You're not going anywhere. You know, and go and try to help them. They could have used him. Oh, that guy.
If all the Illuminati stormed Wanda, they would have easily beaten her.
If they work together, and that's usually the case with these big bad guys like Thanos. Same thing. If they were united, they could have taken him. But they weren't, which is why they failed.
She's powerful, but she is only a human. One bullet could kill her.
Yeah, you just have to be super clever, and if they had a plan, especially and worked together, they would have won. But they underestimated her. Yes. They watched her while she murders all these people, and they're just like,
But Wanda, you're still good.
Yeah, and the other thing that was on her side is she was possessing the body of a different Wanda.
This is reduced strength Wanda.
Yeah, and that's another thing. But she's also innocent. This body that they would potentially destroy is innocent. Yeah. So she uses that against them and just murders all these people.
But one person tried to take advantage of the innocence of that. Do we want to talk about him?
Yes.
That was sad.
Let me do his intro music. I kind of changed it just so.
Yeah.
So
but they did It was a modified version,
I
but
thought
they
you
did
were
play
trying to
it.
Batman. Sorry.
He rolled in. We knew he was in the trailers, but they still made a big deal out of it, and it was still pretty cool.
Yeah.
We got Professor X back.
He's so old.
He is so old.
He is old.
Like, I
He's
thought he was
young.
old in Logan, but I will say, I'm a little miffed that he was in this just because his final goodbye in Logan was so perfect.
Right, it's like,
But
And this one was so
how many
depressing.
times can we watch this poor guy die? Like,
Yeah.
He's died in X-Men 3, he's died in Logan, now he's died in this.
He got neutered in
and
Dark
he
Phoenix.
died in a very Professor X way. It's not like I'm going to have a mental fight with you. It's I'm going to dive into your mind
In
to try and
trance.
find the innocent person that's in there, the person whose body this actually is. It's very David Lynch. It's just endless white rubble. She's trapped. I'll walk over her. Give me your hand. We will free you. And then dark red clouds behind him.
And then he stops trying to free her.
You know, there's something interesting. When I watched it, I thought it was... Because I failed to remember she was dreamwalking. I thought it was the innocent Wanda of our Wanda.
Like little kid Wanda trapped in her apartment as a kid. That's what I mean.
and I thought she was in the corruption coming towards her was from the Darkhold. But then as I was thinking about it later that night, I realized no, that's that version of Wanda, and then our Wanda's coming after him. I was like,
Yeah, our
oh,
Wanda's-
that's so much worse.
Our
Oh.
Wanda's broken.
I thought the red clouds were just going to be like, this is representative of our Wanda, and just like, no, in the mind, she's totally doing this. She's inside the clouds. She's just doing this to freak everyone out.
Yeah.
Because then right as the clouds get there, you see hands jump out, and
Snap.
back in reality, snap the neck. Oh, it was beautiful.
Oh my goodness. He had the most mild death.
I will,
Still
He really
so
did.
sad.
it was the most mild, but also kind of the most brutal, because it wasn't like I'm using magic to, make your head explode or whatever. It's I'm grabbing your head and twisting it till it's broken
it
and
was
you're dead. I'm
personal.
going to sever your spinal cord with my bare
It was
hands.
very personal, and we all know Professor X pretty well at this point.
Mhm.
And he is basically the Professor X we know because he says the line. So we have to like him.
I will say, he had the theme from the cartoon and the golden wheelchair.
Yeah.
Golden wheelchair doesn't look good in live action.
No,
It's way too big.
it's stupid.
It's too big. It looks like plastic.
Yeah. I think it works well in the Illuminati universe, though.
Sure, I'll buy it there.
Yeah.
So with the cameos, somebody pointed out, what's the point of having them if they're going to, their deaths are entertaining. No one can disagree.
No.
Their purpose in the film, I feel, is very diminished. It's like, why are you guys even here again? So I feel like if the film kind of revolved around them sacrificing themselves and showing that they're heroic instead of just all these arrogant jerks.
Right.
And they're not all arrogant, but at least half of them are arrogant.
Yeah.
So, but if they died one by one to protect, and Wanda was coming after them, for me that would be cooler.
Right.
But the way they do die and the way they do it, it is entertaining.
Yeah.
Well, it's their arrogance that gets them killed because they don't believe Strange that she's a threat. They're just like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. We've been down this road a million times. Just let us handle it.
It's like, have they been integrated into the plot better, like these characters or different characters were in Spider-Man No Way Home?
Yeah.
I think that probably would have been the better version on paper. But at the end of the day, especially with a horror movie or a Sam Raimi movie, my general thought is,
Don't get connected to
well,
these.
Yeah,
we go to the movies to experience things. If it's comedy, you can make us laugh. If you break every other rule but you make us laugh, you did your job. Ideally, you don't break those rules, but it doesn't matter as much so long as you're funny. Same with horror. So long as you're scary, you can break some rules. You shouldn't, but it's okay. And so with Sam Raimi saying, like, I don't really care about the rules, I just want to have fun, it probably should have been integrated better, but I didn't care as much.
Right, and it's just an idea of having them integrated better because, while it is entertaining, it's like you can still have us care about these guys. Like, what's the point of killing Xavier again for the third time on screen?
Yeah, they were cannon fodder. They were entertaining cannon fodder, and it was a great way to highlight just how incredibly powerful she is.
But it also undermines the potential of another Charles Xavier, in my opinion, and of Mr. Fantastic if they're just, pumped out like that. Now, Black Bolt,
Maybe in our universe they'll be stronger.
Yeah, or smarter or something.
I personally enjoy seeing superheroes get killed like this in alternate universes. I love these type of storylines a lot. Because I'm like, I do like these characters, at least
I also
3 of them I liked. Captain Carter and Fantastic and Xavier. You know, and so watching them die, I'm just like, this is an alternate universe. This is awesome. It's like the zombie what if.
Because it's alternate universe, there's no consequences.
And you can watch how they could die. You're like, oh, I never thought about that. Or, oh, that's a good idea. Or, wow, that's amazing.
Wow, that was creative. I like those storylines too, but I also like them to put up a fight.
Yeah.
You know? And that's the thing that I didn't quite like. That they all just sort of stood around and died, except
if it was an action movie, I think it would have been like a 10-minute scene where all of them would have made it to the end before dying at the end. But with it being horror, I'll take the 3-minute sequence where they all die in sequential order.
Yeah, and it's part of that adjustment that we talked about at the very beginning, transitioning into, okay, we're going into a different realm where the stakes are higher because it's supernatural, it's horrific, and it's based on those
very horrific.
So
well, if they did that sort of thing if Wanda had been killing a bunch of the Avengers like that,
if they did that 5 years ago, it would have been unacceptable.
Yeah, if she went and killed Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, and Thor all in 3 minutes, that would not be okay.
It always works better because these are not all people we know.
Exactly. We don't know these people that well. It still hurt me a lot.
Even if it's alternate Captain America, alternate Thor, alternate Iron Man, because we have all this experience with them, we might say, I don't know. Like, we're already doing that a little, but if it was people we did have that much experience with, probably.
I don't know. I've always thought she was strong enough to be all the Avengers, but, like, just the respect they deserve, the deaths they deserve. If it was the main universe, it wouldn't work. But if it was the alternate zombie universe or whatever,
go for it.
I don't care. I think it's awesome. Kill them as fast as you want. Just make it awesome, you know?
Yeah, and the biggest problem I have with just killing people off, I know I've delved on this for quite a long time, is specifically for Mr. Fantastic. He's you know, when I watched him die...
His main asset is not his stretchiness.
Right. When I saw it, I laughed because I thought, wow, even after the MCU gets their grubby little meat hooks on Mr. Fantastic, they still make him the second lamest Marvel hero of all time.
Who's the lamest?
Cyclops.
Yeah,
reaching out. Oh my gosh.
Slow motion, just like
and it's for me, the reason I don't like it specifically for him is because it's like he's already failed three times to be in a good movie. One. There's the one that never released. There was the two that were okay, but very mediocre. I feel like that performance was great, by the way. But and then there's the Miles Teller one. It's like, and now we got what we wanted, but did we really want to watch him die like right now, right here? And
they're gonna bring him back one way or another.
But it feels undermined for me because it's like, oh, he's a punk. No matter what you do with this character, they hate him. They just want to kill him off or get rid of him or reboot him or shove it under the rug. It's like, if you keep doing this, nobody is ever going to grab onto this character. And they have a habit of making people grab to these characters that no one's heard about, like Quill. But everyone's heard about Mr. Fantastic. But nobody is going to ever respect this guy because not even the studio respects this guy. They're like, oh yeah, screw you, we're going to blow up your head. I mean, it's entertaining, but that's the good part. The bad part is no one will ever take this character seriously like they could, or make him likable in the same way they did with Captain America or with Iron Man and all these people.
That's true.
To me, I'm like, that's a much bigger deal than people are making it out to be. With the others, Xavier, he can die another time, or whatever. Kill Black Bolt. Nobody cares about Black Bolt. Yeah. And then the insufferable, like Captain Marvel is already insufferable in my opinion. She's extra insufferable when it's a lady who says, "Don't call me Miss." It's like, okay, whatever.
Wait, did she say that in this movie?
No, she says it in the other one, Captain Marvel, which I've only seen once, and don't watch it. Anyways, you know, it's watching the insufferable ones die. It's like fine, but Reed Richards, it's like, I kind of want to like him. I want you guys to do it right, but you're just killing him off again. So I wish they'd use somebody else, honestly.
I will, before we wrap up, there's something I want to touch on. There's another member of the Illuminati in the comics who is in the MCU and was not in this movie. Had Chadwick Boseman not died, do you think we would have seen Black Panther in this movie in the Illuminati? And do we think that he would have been played by Chadwick Boseman, or would this be a different one? Like, would we see Killmonger as Black Panther? Would we see his father as Black Panther?
That would be kind of cool.
If they got the guy who played the young version of his father.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually two members of the Illuminati who aren't here. It's Namor and Black Panther.
Right. You could do an alternate, like I know Wesley Snipes wanted to be Black Panther. That'd be a funny way to do it.
Yeah. And he carries the blade sword.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
But yeah, if Black Panther was in here, or even Namor, like Namor, if you killed Namor off the same way or in a similar fashion to Mr. Fantastic, I feel that'd be more appropriate because we've never seen Namor in a film. Mm-hmm. And if he had lived, if Chadwick Boseman were still with us, killing him off would have had a huge impact.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I actually like that idea of having either of those members of the Illuminati there.
Mm-hmm. For those of you who don't know who Namor is, he is the Marvel Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah. He was there first.
He has wings on his feet.
Yeah. He's a bigger.
Yeah, but this way it's easier to tell people. Like,
he's a bigger dick than Aquaman.
Much bigger. I mean, he was he's a villain half the time.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
like
anti-hero. He is very hard to like, but there is one decision in the comics with the Illuminati where they're deciding whether to banish the Hulk to space. And
just because he's too risky to have around.
And I think Black Panther abstained, and Namor vocally disagreed with that decision because he's like, it will end in catastrophe.
He will come back, and it will be bad.
Yeah, and so they did it anyway, like Strange and Mr. Fantastic and Iron Man and Iron Man's in the Illuminati too. Mm-hmm. They are like, oh, whatever, man. What do you know, Fish Boy? And they
do we think it was
and he comes back and he beats them all up, except Namor.
Do we think it was a missed opportunity to not have Tony Stark in this movie in the Illuminati, played by Tom Cruise?
No point. He would have gotten killed off. I mean, it would have been amusing.
It would have been fun.
Very expensive.
It would have been fun. We don't need it.
Yeah, it would have been too expensive.
I thought the cameos were good enough.
Yeah.
And I felt bad enough. I think they got John Krasinski. Maybe they won't use him in the future.
Maybe.
But I think they got him because people like him and that's who they wanted. So
right.
To see him get killed, at least you had that attachment to him. Mm-hmm. And Captain Carter, we like her. We like Peggy. And we all like Xavier, So to see those three die, at least it was kind of like...
I know there's a lot of people out on the internet who are very upset about this. I don't think any of us are. Are we upset that they did not introduce mutants in this movie?
No. I mean, they sort of did. Like, Xavier's a mutant.
That's
right.
True. That's
my general thought is they're going to introduce them eventually. Get over yourselves, losers.
I mean, they did. Xavier was a mutant.
Well, to be fair to those people who
they
are
want
upset,
introduction of like Scarlet Witch was going to change reality and introduce mutants into the mainline MCU, something like that.
I think they're going to go multiverse path with that.
Well,
just from what they're going.
To be fair to those fans, I can appreciate that because WandaVision tickled their fancy with that a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, "Oh, mutants! Oh, psych!" And then this one was like, "Oh, kind of, but not yet."
Yeah, I don't think it's wrong to speculate about, or because you could have done that with this movie. I think it's wrong to expect it and be disappointed when it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean,
because they know they are going to do it
eventually.
So.
Yeah, so this film wasn't. Part of me thought this film was going to, before the first trailer, was going to delve into all these different cameos and things, and we're going to really explore the multiverse of madness. I'm glad they didn't because
cameos are only in one scene.
It would have taken away from it being a Doctor Strange film.
Yeah.
Like if you just want a multiverse of madness where it's all those cameos, by all means call it that, but don't put Doctor Strange in front of it.
Right.
But they didn't. They managed to focus on Strange, and I appreciated that, which is what I do like about them killing off the cameos. It's like, yeah, this film isn't about that. So.
One more question. At the end, Scarlet Witch says, like, hey, no, I realize what I've done is wrong. No one else can go to this cursed place and learn these spells. So I'm going to collapse it. And we don't see the body, but she clearly collapses it on herself. Mm-hmm. And the implication is she's dead. Do we actually think she's dead?
No, I saw a flash of red light. I don't think she's dead.
I will say, this is not the first time in a Sam Raimi comic book movie that a villain has collapsed something in order to save the world and ended up killing themselves. But
showed up.
I think Sam Raimi wants her dead. Kevin Feige doesn't. And so I think she's dead until someone else says, okay, let's bring her back. I have an idea for her.
Yeah.
Until proven not dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Can we talk about the ending where it's just a bunch of pep talks so people do things so another person does things? So first off, Doctor Strange gets a pep talk to get the ghost to become his cape, from his girlfriend, not his girlfriend.
Metal as crap.
That's a cool scene.
Yeah.
When he gets pep talk, like, hey, you can do this because you're the master of mystic arts or whatever. Then he's like, okay, I can do this. And he does it. And then he starts to beat Wanda, but he loses, and he tells America, hey, you can do this. Just
believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself. She does the same thing, fights for a little bit, does decent, and then she loses. And then she says, okay, now I'm going to have you beat yourself. And she's like, what? And she opens a portal. Then her own self says, I will protect our children. So it's just a pep talk to pep talk to pep talk to, find a conclusion. I was just like...
Welcome to Scarlet Witch's TED Talk.
Yeah.
It was. I just found that kind of amusing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, there were a few.
It was a weird ending.
There were a few clunky bits like that. Some of the dialogue was weird. America Chavez was just a MacGuffin. They didn't even try to hide it.
Yeah. And to be fair, she's a very hard character to write. If you've delved into the comics even somewhat, you'll be like, man, this is a very pretentious and very unlikable person.
Mm.
You know, she's not somebody you can root for. She's not Steve from Brooklyn. She's not Peter Parker. She's just very... she's not as unsavory in the film, but she also has no character in the film.
She's kind of a... Not in the film, but in the comics, she's kind of the definition of a Mary Sue, where it's not incredibly overpowered person for no reason. That's not a Mary Sue. A Mary Sue is... This is... I'm going to write it as if I was in the story, and then everyone will love me, and I'll be like the coolest.
It's self...
That's a Mary Sue.
Self-inserts.
Right. Like, this is a controversial take on my part, but I kind of feel like Ahsoka is a Mary Sue. She's the insert character for Dave Filoni.
So it's a George Lucas creation, though.
Right.
So.
Yeah. It's not that. It's not that the original definition of Mary Sue is the worst thing in the world.
Right.
But it's usually the worst thing in the world.
I'll agree with Jed about Ahsoka, and we'll probably go there somewhere.
Someday.
Only in the sense that I agree, but I don't believe she started that way.
Sure. Yeah. I can get on board with that.
After Rebels, I'm like, yeah, definitely, absolutely. So, but going back to Chavez, the thing that I did like about the film is she didn't beat the Scarlet Witch by punching her into an oblivion.
No.
And it's something that I compared and contrasted because people said, which is the better multiversal Spider-Man film between Far From Home versus Into the Spider-Verse?
No Way Home.
No Way Home.
No Way Home.
And a lot of people said Into the Spider-Verse, and you're probably right. But the one thing that I liked over Into the Spider-Verse is Spider-Man in No Way Home tries to help the villains. It's a battle of ideas. Is it worth it to save these guys? He proves to be right in the end. Versus Kingpin just saying, oh, I'm going to do this, and arguing with Miles Morales instead of Miles talking to him and saying, no, my ideas are actually better. This is look around you, this is terrible for our reality. It's terrible for everyone. You can't bring her back. That would have had more meaning to me.
Right.
And that's where No Way Home is superior in that sense for me.
Yeah.
And they do the same thing here with this. It's like, I can't beat you, but you need to see what you're doing. Your ideas are terrible. And she wins the battle of ideas, which is a much stronger idea.
The whole idea, the conflict of this movie is, you will make sacrifices in your life, but are you sacrificing other people? Are you sacrificing yourself? What are you sacrificing, and what are you sacrificing it for? And it's not just as simple as, I think I'm doing the right thing. It's, okay, take a look and examine it again, even if you do have the noblest intentions.
Yep. So, and I really like it when superheroes, they don't end in fisticuffs. It's the battle of ideas, and the hero wins because they have the better idea. So, that's my thoughts on it. And yeah, the pep talk after pep talk after pep talk, it's like, whatever.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
But overall, I just like that she didn't kick the crap out of her or something. That would have been very odd.
What? If America beat Scarlet Witch?
Yeah.
That's what I was afraid of. I was like, are they going there? Is she really going to be the winner?
Star power.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
Literal star power.
I mean, it was her power that made them win in the end, but it wasn't just like
it wasn't because
force.
I'm strong. It was because
she outsmarted
I want you
her.
to look at who you are.
Yeah.
Look at what you're doing. Your ideas are terrible.
Well, yeah, and it falls underneath the idea part.
Yes.
It's like everyone's been trying to tell her, like, look, you would scare each other. Also, you don't have each other. And then shows a universe where she actually did have children. Like, see, we told you.
and
They're
that's
scared of you.
the only time I've seen the balance of that is probably third season of Daredevil, where it's, and I won't go into too much of it, but it's so brilliant because it is the fisticuffs, but it's also the idea of my ideas, my morals are better than your ideas and your way of doing things. And I'll never be like you, and that gives the character strength and the power to say, God knows I could do what you do, but you don't get to destroy who I am.
Right.
You know, you don't get to corrupt me. So I really like that in the film. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap up. We're at an hour and 31 minutes.
All right.
So
I'm not gonna
thoughts?
give either one a score. I think I like Moon Knight better than Doctor Strange, even though it stumbled a bit at the end. But Moon Knight I liked on the intellectual level, the themes. Oh my gosh, well acted, art. Doctor Strange was, this is the most fun I've had in the theater in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Good
basically
fun.
say the same thing for both of those. We all agree.
It was a lot of fun. Just don't.
Don't take young kids to this. Don't go if you're squeamish.
Yeah, I was really surprised about that, but I
thought
enjoyed it.
Brilliant.
I enjoyed
me too.
it.
100%.
Oh, I heard your laugh in the middle of the theater.
Yeah. If you hear Judge Evil laugh in the theater, and the villain is doing something, you know the villain's doing something right. So.
Yeah.
I was laughing at Wanda at the most inappropriate scenes, when she was feeling bad. Everyone was like, "Oh."
Yeah, I would
I was
laugh
like,
too. I was like,
If you could watch
I
this
don't
movie
feel bad
surrounded
for
by
you.
college students, it's a great idea.
It's like, you deserve this, Wanda.
All right, so we'll go ahead and close.
Okay.
Guys.
What are we talking about next week?
So next week we are, it is the month of May. Okinobi is coming up. We were going to do something Star Wars themed this week, but we decided, you know what, let's just focus all on Marvel because we have Doctor Strange coming out.
Yeah.
But we will be delving a little more into Star Wars next week, so get
good.
ready to go to a galaxy far, far away.
All right.
All right. And remember, you can follow us on Twitter @OfCinematics. I need to actually make a little thumbnail for that. It's down in the description, I believe. Nope, just kidding, it's not. But, anywho, you can also subscribe on Anchor for $4.99 a month and help us get better equipment and not crash during streaming.
Yay.
And I believe that's it, right? You guys can.
That's it.
Aaron's not with us today, so go to Webtoons, look up Pretzels. That's the one I remember.
And Toonla.
And Toonla. Is that on
Yep.
Webtoons as well?
Should be.
Okay. Go check that out, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right, take care.
See ya.